Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Love Encompassed Podcast.
We're back.
I'm your girl, Victoria.
And I'm Phil.
What'd you pause like that for?
Because you were like, I'm your girl, Victoria.
I mean, because at this point,
And I'm Phil.
you know what I mean? We can,
Yeah, we've done enough of these
Yeah.
now. I think we've introed ourselves.
yeah. So today we were talking about, like how really, the confrontation.
Confronting people.
Yeah. So,
When to avoid, when to do it, when to...
how to do it.
Yes.
If you're someone that struggles with confrontation, tends to be a little bit more passive.
If you're someone who's angry, seems to be a little bit more emotional.
It's like I think of the movie, the Pixar movie,
Oh, yeah. Inside Out.
Inside Out. Let me tell you, I feel like that's a really good. Disney did a really good job with because that's how I feel sometimes. You know, when they had like little people has different emotions and everything
Yeah.
like that, and it seems like, man, we got to really control anger and all these different things. If you haven't seen Inside Out 2, woo,
That's a good one.
it is a good one. That one's a little bit of hit home. I think hit home for a lot of folks. But anywho, so
It's a good movie.
but I feel like, we are people that don't mind the confrontation.
No. We don't have any problems confronting things. We do a better job of knowing when to confront and when not to confront.
Yes.
Because I dealt with for a long time, like being angry and stuff, like when we first got married, and I would like lose my temper, and you're like, look,
What?
dude. Yeah. You're like, look, dude, we don't need to act like that. And so it took me a little bit to be like, okay, so now I have to, when I confront something, I gotta calmly.
But
address it.
is that you being like quick to, like issues with confrontation, like being quick to confront, or is that you just learning how to control your temper? Feel
Well,
like
I
those are
think
two different
learning how to.
things.
Well, I think learning how to control your temper or your emotions, if you will, helps also in confronting people.
Yeah.
Because if you're like, oh, I'm mad and angry, your confrontation is going to be pretty crazy.
And you probably can overly confront. Like, not everything is worth confronting.
That's the thing is, that's what we tell married couples or soon to be married couples, or even when we're doing marriage coaching. Not everything is a thing.
Right.
So you don't have to confront every little thing that happens.
Yeah. And I think that goes into just in life in general. Like, I have a rule of thumb, like, if it isn't stealing my peace, it is not worth me confronting.
I heard a saying that's pretty good. If love can't cover it, then you have to confront it.
Yeah.
So if you can't just be like, you know what, I love him. But if it's something that's really bothering you and you can't let it go, got to confront it.
Yeah. And that, I think, is even because not everybody that is in your life is like, man, I love this person. You know what I'm saying? So if you're at work, and you dealing with a boss or a coworker, or if you are at the store and somebody acting crazy, it's not like, man,
You
I
record
love
it
you,
and put it on TikTok.
Okay.
That's how you get followers,
Listen,
man.
totally off the subject.
It used to be World Star. Remember that?
World Star, yeah. Totally off the subject. I remember this one time when we were in Walmart, because, baby, you do not know what you're going to get
That's true.
when you in Walmart. And we were at Walmart, and we were standing in line, and the people next to us in the self-checkout started going at it.
Well, tell the whole story. We were in this Walmart because you said, I want to go by the Walmart, this other place, because like these people
'cause
act
it's
crazy.
real.
This Walmart's so much nicer.
Listen, first of all, how can I say this? Walmart, you kind of know what to expect because of we
Watch
all
yourself.
know. There's a website,
yourself.
peopleofwalmart.com.
Watch yourself.
So we all know. You know what I'm saying? So if I had to choose like this particular Walmart located in this area, because I'm like, ooh, I ain't dealing with them, versus over on the other side of town, I'm going to go to the other side of town because my likelihood of dealing with the crazy is not as high. So it's like you're
but
picking
you
your
dealt with
battle.
the crazy on the good Walmart.
But you're getting away from it. You're getting away from the story. So we're in line. You remember, waiting to check out. Next thing you know, I don't even know what the argument was about. But the argument, these people started going back and forth. And I lost my manners. Not lost my manners, but I forgot where I was at.
Stared.
And I was staring. You know how like when you're going out to eat.
I was just checking out groceries.
you know how when you're going out to eat and sometimes you get that one kid that just stares at you while you eat and you're like, all right, you're a cute kid, but can you turn around now? I feel like I was that kid.
I like how you said it was a cute kid.
You're a cute kid, but can you turn around now?
And I was that cute kid.
I was that cute kid. I'm not so much focusing on the cute. Anyways, I digress. I got caught up in the confrontation of these two people going at it. So much so that you were like, babe, turn around. Turn around.
Turn around. Focus on what we're doing. Because sometimes people, it gets volatile in confrontations.
They be like, what you looking at? And you're like, hey, I ain't want
Because here's the thing, and if you're not careful, when you get into those conversations or those confrontations, what happens is you start losing, you ain't thinking clearly, you just going off.
Oh,
right?
like you talking about, and then
in confrontations in general, like you can do that in your marriage or any relationship. You just don't start thinking clearly, and you start saying stuff that you wish you wouldn't have said.
Yeah. So the purpose of this podcast or episode today.
Don't go to Walmart.
Don't do that. We're not gonna go there. But as far as like not falling into that pitfall, like learning how to confront, learning how to develop if you're one of those people that are like, hey, I struggle with confrontation, it doesn't come easy for me. Okay, what are some things that we can help share that will help them kind of develop that confidence and not be afraid to, like, so.
Yeah, I think for me, it's what to confront and what not to confront. Obviously, is based on the person. It's based on the relationship that I have with the person. It's based on all of those things. But the other thing is this something that's even going to, like, I mean, is it going to impact my life that much?
But I think that sometimes...
Is it that big of a deal?
Yeah.
Like, for me, it's like, if our boys do something... Now, if it's like a life lesson, that we're teaching them something, but if it's like, I don't know. There's sometimes I'm just like, is it really? It's not that big of a deal.
I mean, yes. I think, yes, in those situations, you have to decipher, okay, is it that big of a deal? But there are also moments I feel like sometimes in confrontation we can be focused about us and how it's affecting us, and not so much of like, hey, maybe I can help that person, reveal a blind spot that they're doing or something that they can help grow in that they are not aware of, that I can probably help shed light to in love.
Yeah.
Like, hey, just in case you didn't know you're coming off this way.
Yeah, I've also confronted people not having all the facts. And that hasn't ended well. It's made me feel kind of bad.
Why don't you go ahead and expound on that?
Had nothing to do with you.
Ow!
But I remember I was with a coworker one time, and then, like, I confronted them on some behavior stuff, and only to find out, like, they had some family things that had happened and stuff like that, and I felt, like, super small. I'm like, what's your problem, man? You're such a jerk.
So extending grace toward people.
Yeah, I think because you don't know everything that people are going through.
So maybe isn't so much of like, hey, I'm not going to confront this person. Maybe it's kind of like what we were talking about earlier today, where we can be quick to assume that a thing is a thing. And so maybe instead of assuming, going to that person saying, hey, is everything okay?
Asking questions.
Yeah.
I know somebody recently told me, they're like, hey, the best leadership practice is to ask questions. Ask questions and find out, like, hey.
Yeah.
And then for me, it's always, I'm good with confrontation. I have no problem with it whatsoever. I'm going to match, like, if you want to keep going up, I have to be good not to match that intensity. Like, I got to be the one that stays calm, and it's like, because otherwise it's like, man, you start just yelling at each other, and then it doesn't even matter. You can do that in marriage. It's like one person's had a bad day, they come home, that blah, 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 and then you just want to match energy, so you go blah, 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 and then everybody's yelling at everybody. Whereas I think sometimes, and it doesn't matter, man or woman, somebody's got to be the calm one. Or,
putting ourselves out there. It wasn't a proud moment for myself.
Ooh, this would be good.
But you, I don't know why it came out like that. But you confronted
Sing talking.
you confronted me about like, hey, you're coming off a little aggressive
Yeah.
about this particular subject. And
Yeah.
in my mind in that moment, I wasn't being aggressive. I was just passionate. Like when I get passionate about something, I'm like, I get, a little extra. And so I was like, no, not at all. But you kept like driving the point of being like, no, you are. And it shifted to me saying like, no, I'm not, to where now I am mad. And
now I'm coming for you.
And instead of me handling my emotions in a better way by saying, hey, this is starting to frustrate me because I feel like you're not listening. I'm expressing to you like this is not what it is, and you keep saying that it is what it is. But y'all,
she came for blood.
I was like, oh, okay. Well, if I'm being aggressive, how about sometimes you annoying?
It's rough.
And
but
you
I
were
think
like,
that's
wow.
the thing is, but I think that's a good point though. Not that I'm annoying, but I think what's a good point is in confrontation, you got to be, we've talked about it before. I know we have, and I know we've said it, but you have to listen to understand, not to respond.
Yeah.
And sometimes in confrontation, what starts happening is you just like, oh, I'm putting these in my chamber and I'm coming out firing. As soon as they pause.
Well, the thing is, I don't even need to put it in my chamber. It's just like once, again, an area of growth for me is that once I do start getting worked up, it's just like, pop, pop, pop. And so I wasn't intentionally trying to be hurtful. Like we talked about this already. But I wasn't intentionally trying to be hurtful. But instead of in that moment saying, hey, I feel like you're not hearing me and I feel like I'm being attacked and that's becoming hurtful, I chose to be like, well, since you calling me out, let me call you about something. And, and it's just like, okay, Victoria, that wasn't the best way to handle it. So I think what we're trying to say is in the art of confrontation, if someone is confronting you about something, be open to the possibility that maybe that thing that you are dealing with, that they're confronting you about, is truth to it.
Yeah, you could be wrong.
But let's say off the cuff, like they do say it in a way that is a little low-key disrespectful, the answer isn't to pop back off being equally or more disrespectful. The answer is, okay, I can hear what you're saying, but in the way in which you just gave it, this is how it came off.
Right. There was a wise man named Jesus, and he said, don't repay evil for evil.
Yeah, right.
So just because the way it comes, and it's like, again, though, I think if somebody confronted us with something and it was like, I think if we take that approach of, well, let me ask questions. And it's like, well, what did you mean by that? Tell me how that, whatever. Tell me all of those things. I think that helps calm the situation down.
Right. Because the Bible says we can speak the truth in love. So in confronting someone about something, the possibility of them receiving it in a way that they can actually take and like, okay, I'm going to use that and remember that, because you said it in a loving and endearing tone, or you chose your words wisely, is a higher probability than if you come with guns a-blazing and they're not going to.
Yeah, it's what my grandmother, old timers, used to say. You can get a lot farther with honey than you can vinegar.
Right, and that is truth.
Right,
you found out that day. No, I had to
vinegar.
I did. I had to own how I responded, and I did apologize later. It was a good conversation that we had. But the thing is I could tell that you were a little like later that day, like you weren't in the same mood as before that interaction. And I was like, hey, I kind of feel like, and then it opened up the conversation like, yeah, let's talk about that, because I was processing through that, and this is how it came across when you said these things.
Yeah,
and to gain better clarity.
And I think what we tell people too is when we're doing marriage coaching is, if you're feeling yourself getting to those emotional spots, right? We're all guilty of it. And so when you get to those emotional spots, you do a good job with this. You're like, hey, let's calm down for a second and let's come back to this conversation when we can take the emotions out of the conversation and we can have a normal conversation and start to see it. Because sometimes you're just amped up and you're ready to go. And it's like, well, everybody take a step back. Let's calm down. Let's talk about this when our emotions aren't super vested in it.
Yeah, and I try to, if I know that I need to confront somebody about something, whether it's you or the boys or someone that I know, if I know that I'm going to confront this person, I try to choose the best timing in doing that. So the time to confront someone about something isn't when maybe they're having a bad day or they're already showing signs of being in their feelings. That's probably not the best timing to do that. You know what I mean? And so it's one of those situations where you could either pray about, okay, God, help me with the better timing and the right words. But also, when that opportunity comes, the purpose of the confrontation isn't to break the person down. The purpose of the confrontation, I feel for me when I confront, is to provide clarity over something, or maybe even like, hey, I'm setting a boundary, or bringing attention to them. Like, hey, there's something that you did. If it's something for me against me, like if it's with our boys or with you that I see that they're doing that is not, you know. Like for example, like if it's dealing with like selfishness or something like that, because we all have, well, we don't all have children, but those of us that have children and maybe even teenagers, they have moments where it's very much so about their world. So it's like, okay, well, I'm seeing that you're kind of getting in the habit of something that's not going to be good and conducive for you. So I need to confront this. How can I confront this in a way to where you're going to receive this in the best way and not be defensive about it?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I was just thinking when we were in Walmart another time, because I was thinking about confrontation, and I thought, all right, well, that's good when you know the person.
Right.
Right, when you don't know the person.
Right.
And we were in Walmart one time, and I was checking stuff out, and Victoria and the boys had walked to go get something, and then, like, they came over to me because I was checking something out, and the lady behind was like, hey, did you just know you cut in front of me?
Yeah. So to add to that story, when we met up with Phil in the line, Phil's white, obviously. I'm black. What crazy, right? And our children, even though they're biracial, they have darker skin tones. So if you don't know that we're together,
this is all news to me. I'm floored.
So if you don't know that we're together, you would assume these black people just cut in front of me, right? And so I gave her the benefit of the doubt, because I'm going to keep it 100 with y'all. When she stepped to me, and because it wasn't like, hey, you just cut me. She was very much like,
she was rude.
She was rude and aggressive with it.
Yeah,
and I'm not going to lie, I wanted to be like, oh, excuse you, and I wanted to return the energy, but I had to calm down and say, okay, Victoria, we're not going to match the energy. And so I was like, well, that's my husband. So it's almost like, I had to give the benefit of the doubt. Even though you stepped to me inappropriately, you didn't know that we're related and that we're together. So I'm going to give you that. And second of all, egg on your face, because you assumed we weren't together.
They assumed she thought there's no way that she's with that guy.
But
the joke was on her this whole time.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure for you in that moment, you probably wanted to get...
Yeah. Well, I think I even turned around and I was like, they're with me. And I had to catch myself because I'm like, ugh, that just irritates me anyway. I just don't like when people jump into people's business all the time. You know what I mean? I just thought of something. I'm like, maybe she was a Karen. But then if your name is Karen,
no,
you're not a Karen.
I mean, let's be real. That's why I said I gave her the benefit of the doubt, because again, to someone who don't know us may not know that our boys are biracial. And so if I'm standing in line and somebody cuts in front of me, I'm like, oh, excuse me. I wouldn't have came with the energy that she came with. I'd be like, oh, excuse me, I was standing here, right? I wouldn't have been, I don't remember exactly what she said, but either way, making sure that if you're put in that situation and someone kind of came off whatever, like, okay, I can handle this without it taking me out of my character. Yeah. And sometimes we're great at it. Sometimes we're not.
And I think that's the thing with confrontation is don't let the confrontation take you out of the character of who you are.
Yeah, that's really good.
So I think that's the thing that's like, all right, is this going to take me out of my character?
Yeah.
Because nowadays, I mean, when I was growing up, you could go off on people all day long.
Yeah.
Now,
You don't know because people crazy.
and people will put you all, I mean, you'll be all over, you'll be viral for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah. It depends on how crazy you are. I don't care if somebody record me if I feel like but I don't feel like I would like go that crazy because people are crazy and I'm trying to make it back home. You know what I'm saying? But as far as people that, okay, hey, I have an issue with confrontation. That's not something that comes natural to me. My question to that is like, I think sometimes, or it's not a question, it's more of a statement. I think that people that have a tendency, and I say that because of a family member that we know, just from conversations that we've had with them, that they struggle with confrontation out of fear. They're afraid. Maybe you're a people pleaser. Maybe you care about what people think. And so because you're a people pleaser or because you care about what people think, you are afraid to confront a situation out of fear of, what if they don't like me anymore? What if, whatever this consequence will lead to. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think you have to understand the confrontation has to be in your way, like how you do it. But there are things in life that you just have to confront.
Yeah.
Like, it's what you said. You got to set boundaries. And if the people are crossing boundaries, then you have to confront the behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Sometimes we want to just accuse the person, but maybe it's not the person, it's the behavior of the person. So it's like, that's why people are like, it's so difficult. I can't love people. It's like, you can love people. You just have to confront behaviors and still love the person.
Yeah. I also am curious your thoughts on, okay, I confronted this person in love. I waited for the right time. All these different things, whether it's a spouse, coworker, or whatever. And that person just, don't receive it, or they're a person that's hard to get along with. How do you approach it that way? Because it's like, okay, if I don't feel like that person is going to receive what I am going to confront with them because their behavior has, in my experience with the behavior, has said that, what do I do in those cases?
I think I've had coworkers that way, that it's like, even when you confront them, they're so defiant that they're just like, nope, nope, this is it, and it's like, I think you just have to understand that's a character flaw that they have. And it's like, if their behavior affects me in an adverse way, I'm still going to continue to confront them. But I don't set up an expectation that there's going to be a resolution. I understand, like, this is something they're working through. So probably the way I would present it is like, hey, can I give you, can I maybe speak into you for a second? When I come to you and talk to you about stuff, you tend to, nope, blah, 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 blah. So it makes me not want to do it. Like, I think you have to be honest with people in that situation. I think you guys got to tell them. It's the same as if you're married.
Yeah.
If you're married and you're like, every time you go to your spouse, they react a certain way or they whatever, I think you have to tell them, like, hey, I'm not trying to be rude here. I love you, but the way you react doesn't make me want to bring this stuff up to you.
And that's real. That's real. And if you are that person where that's being said too, you have to be open to the possibility of, maybe I am being that way. And if I really care about this person, I have to trust that when someone's confronting me with it, that if it's someone that loves me, that they're trying to help me. They're not trying to hurt me. And that's a conversation that I had with the boys because they had did something and, I was kind of addressing it, and I had to let them know, like, hey, the passion on which I am telling you these things is not to harp on you, it's not to hurt you, it's to help you because I love you. And you have to understand the relationships that we have with people. Like, if it's somebody that, don't really have any investment in my life and vice versa, then maybe sometimes when people say something off the kilter, okay, I might like, that's just them saying that because of whatever. But if it's somebody that loves me and I love them and we're in close relationship with, then I have to trust if they're bringing something to me, it's not to hurt me or to break me down. It is truly to help me. And I have to be open to the possibility of maybe I am coming off a certain way. So, okay, I'm going to be more aware of that.
Yeah. Yeah. So whatever it is, if you're a person who, someone is confronting, you got to be willing to receive. You got to be willing to listen, to understand where they're coming from, not just to respond to them with however it is that you're thinking about all the things. If you're that person, and then if you're a person who needs to confront, be calm. Take the emotions out of it. Have that conversation with somebody. And then if they don't react the way that you want them to react, it doesn't mean it's like, well, they're just, ignorant people. It's like, no, just calm back down and believe the best in people.
Yeah, you can't be afraid to confront at the expense of your peace.
That's good.
You can't be afraid to confront at the expense of your peace. And I think, if you're one of those people that do have a challenge with confrontation, just remind yourself of that. Like, hey, whatever, if I do it in love and if I do it in all these steps that we were talking about, I'm not going to be so concerned about what's going to happen as a result of that if I did it the right way. And if something does happen, I'm going to trust that at the end of the day, it's still going to work out for my good, and be proud of the fact that I spoke up for myself, and be proud of the fact that I laid down a boundary, or be proud of the fact that I grew in that area.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this episode on the Love Encompassed podcast. Where can they watch us at?
They can watch us on YouTube. And if you're currently watching us on YouTube, please make sure you subscribe and hit the notification button. If this, helped and you really feel like someone else could benefit from this, please share. As well as, on Apple and Spotify, if you're listening to us, thank you so much. We appreciate it so much. If you feel like someone would benefit from this episode, share this episode as well on the podcast, on Apple or Spotify. And then on Instagram, Love Encompass Podcast, at Phil Clemens and at Victoria Clemens. We would love to connect with you guys and just continue to build our community. And we want to just thank you so much for those that have been listening and continue to listen, and for those that have shared. And we look forward to our next episode with you.
Yeah, and also follow us on TikTok. We're on TikTok too. I love
forgot.
TikTok.
Yes.
Follow us on TikTok as well.
Yes.
And we can't wait to see you next week on the Love Encompass podcast.